All right. So we're going to try to deal with this whole thought experiment in, just under an hour while a short game of chess goes, just to sort of keep us on our feet. I'm not going to try to take the chess game too seriously, but I am going to try to finish it. And I've prompted this. I've said it twice. I really appreciate you maybe taking a second to think about what it might mean if happiness is having happy thoughts. And this is a bit different for me. So what I'd like to propose here is the benefit to consuming something like this. Wow, I do sound like a business kid. Consuming this like a product. What I do think the benefit of here is a clarity of thought that comes from what a thought experiment really is. Not like a thought experiment in scientific terms, but a thought experiment the way that creators of fiction go about it. And in the way I go about it, from a type of practical discourse, like a practice in thought experimentation that literally goes back to when I was about 14 years old and did my first thought experiment: would the world be a perfect place if nobody could practice hypocrisy? Maybe I wasn't fancy enough to have the word practice back then, but it was like, would the world be happy if no one could be a hypocrite, right? It's a very simple thought, and one that I got a chance to work a lot with my debate partner, Alicia Niles, back in the summer of God 19, who gives a shit what it was. Happiness is having happy thoughts. Um, Instead of starting with a resolution here, we're going to be starting with a proposition. Usually, I like to take off when we have these words, and happiness is having happy thoughts. I think avoids a topical process, which means talking about the definition of like what is happiness, right? Trying to define happiness as everything that it isn't, or going about it in some way, some shape or form like that. Um, what's nice about happiness is having happy thoughts is idea it's the kind of idea, right? It becomes an idea once it leaves our mouth. Our thoughts are perfect, and then we say them out loud, and they're suddenly imperfect. Idea to be attacked is that it's alliterative and that it's short. So it should hold true in the mind if it works, meaning that the transferability of the concept to tens of thousands of other thoughts that we feel are true in our life make thinking about other things really clearly, because we've nailed down an aspect of happiness. And happiness is something that does seem to be very human. It does seem to be of interest to many, many people. The younger you are, the more interested you seem to be in happiness. But no matter what age you are, like, not having an opinion about happiness is not even something that I know of. So my gut reaction is that on face it seems too simple. Like, if happiness is having happy thoughts, I think we would find that idea encapsulated in some type of philosophy that's able to successfully isolate thoughts from feelings, or thoughts from all of the other things that happiness could be. But happiness is having happy thoughts really means that happiness can't be anything else. Like, if we turn it into a resolution, happiness equals having happy thoughts in this sense. Um, makes it I guess what I would say is topically relevant. Like, if happiness is having happy thoughts and happiness is having happy feelings, then resolved we have resolved that happiness is having happy thoughts no longer works. So you would need happiness is having happy thoughts and feelings. And then you would kind of have these two separate things, which we all already are very troubled with as it regards happiness. So that's where we start. We're not going to start with resolved. We're going to see if this is something that we want to get to a resolved state, and work through the steps that go into that, which tend to be something like a topical phrasing of the resolution to make sure we're happy with what it sounds like. We're happy, like the phrase itself is perfect. Like, you can't really make this better. Happiness is happy thoughts doesn't work. I'll touch on this a little bit later when we talk about a lack of an agent. This isn't someone can only be happy if. There is no agent here. We're trying to distill happiness itself. But let's take a break. Let's make a chess move. And then we'll make sure we knock out like an epistemological problem. Like, we're not talking about knowledge. We're talking about thinking, and those two things aren't the same. All right, so my opponent here played something that's called the modern. If you know Hikaru Nakamura, he likes to play this in blitz all the time. He'll just pre-move g6. And I have a really particular setup I like to get, where I want this knight here. That way both of these central pawns will be double protected. The risk here is that if bishop comes to g4, it's going to attack the knight. The knight is pinned to the queen, right? So the knight won't be able to move. and then all of a sudden this piece will be under attack, but it's already protected by the queen. The last game I put my bishop out here and ran into a bit of trouble. No, he played e6 there. I do like this bishop move though, although it leaves this pawn hanging for just a second. But what this affords me now is to be able to play. Right now he wants to set, now he can take this. I have to defend it. And now making this bishop move makes sense. Otherwise my bishop would come to this square. This doesn't work any longer. In fact, I think I'd be okay without, oh no, I can't move. So I'm gonna play this bishop move first. Right, because if, no, knight takes queen could have taken, I still like this square for the bishop. They're centralized, although now having this bishop out here, where am I gonna put my queen? I think I'll put my queen out here after I play this pawn move. And we're coming out of the opening and we're about to enter the middle game. My bishops just feel weird, although the knight can't come to g3 to attack. All right, 24 minutes in. This guy's playing really fast. You get that sometimes. There's nothing to do about it. It's just a really bland move. Queen to c2 or queen to b3? Queen to b3, knight attacks. I'll have to move the queen again. I don't want it over here, so how about I just plop it safely, and I think I'll be castling, moving the king, moving the rook, and then we'll just start working our way up this basic chess. This is a fine match right now. So happiness is having happy thoughts is the proposition that we're going to get into. So again, I said on face it seems kind of simple, and that secondarily topical problems, meaning how we define the terms, will arise with the term thoughts, but we're not going to be pedantic about what happiness is. We do know what a thought is, but I think what's important to isolate is happiness is having happy knowledge. It isn't on here. Knowledge is something that can be shared from person to person. Like, knowledge is the relationship between dopamine and happiness. I find it difficult in our postmodern age to have a type of knowledge that isn't scientific. I think that's really what it boils down to. This isn't a scientific exercise. In fact, thought experiments serve us. Sorry, my daughter's soccer uniform is supposed to be white instead of blue, so I just got that text. But she said to bring both. She's in school right now. Big soccer game. Big soccer game. Teams traveling down from Utah and Montana and stuff to play in this big thing called the Desert Conference League. She's 14. She's a really great soccer player. Get the whole world out in front of her. Just going to castle to see what the opponent's going to do, and then not think about this anymore. All that to say, the most beautiful ideas are simple. And since truth can only be one thing, which is a resolution I resolved a long time ago, it always leans to oneness. This comes back later in the most interesting find from my couple of weeks of thinking about this happiness is having happy thoughts problem. So let's work backwards now across everything that's been said, including a very big tactical problem, which is degree of proof. We also have to work out scope. These are all elements of thinking about something formally. Formal thought creates clarity of thought because it's the ability to iterate across the thought means it's more useful in the future. So problems like scope. Happiness is having happy thoughts doesn't mean like Saturn is happy. Happiness is having happy thoughts is a human problem, a human concern. I'm going to just assume that if someone's having a conversation with me and he's like, well, what about Saturn? What about aliens? This becomes a bit pedantic, and it's against the spirit of the resolution should we get there. So what does it take for this to work? I mentioned earlier, happiness can't be anything else. But instinctively, when I came across this the first time, I reacted like almost immediately. Like you feel conflict, you feel the emergence of not clash, which is a good thing, but you feel problems like tautology, or things becoming tautological, meaning that they're just like true because they're true. You know, the sky is blue because it's blue, not because the sky is blue for any other reason that we call blue, we call that the sky is blue, that sentence can't be a resolution, or not an interesting one anyway. You could only get into, well, what if blue looks different to me than it looks to you? Then we're not having this conversation. There's something really uncomfortable, which is a counter that says something to the effect of like, how the fuck can you be happy if you're not having happy thoughts? Since we've temporarily committed to the proposition of happiness is having happy thoughts, I can't quickly come up with like a reasonable scenario for knocking this out immediately, but I can see this coming back, in a topical way when we get to the other side of a resolution. Like when you get to the other side, you're not trying to prove that happiness is not having happy thoughts. You just need to, in any way, dissolve the resolution so that it's no longer resolved, so that it doesn't make sense in line with some other warrants that we might have. I think, though, a problem of agency might arise, and this comes to both scoping and the spirit of the resolution. And so we kind of rewrite this thing. So how about instead of happiness is having happy thoughts, we rewrite this really quickly. Let's actually try to rewrite some of it down here. And I just want to put the words one cannot be happy in the absence. And it won't fit. I'm just going to put in the absence. Right? One cannot be happy in the absence. By the way, if you're writing a song and you need a good lyric right now, and you start a song with this sentence, one cannot be happy in the absence. Dude, that's a banger. Free. One cannot be happy in the absence. Tell me that doesn't sound like a song in any genre but rap, country, opera, and ancient Roman hymns. What changes? One cannot be happy in the absence of happy thoughts. It becomes a little bit chewier. But when you use one, when you say one cannot, something very big changes. We have what's called problems of agency, or just agency concepts generally. Like there's now an agent in the resolution. So a lot of this, if you've ever practiced policy debate, you guys are like, this guy is literally stealing policy debate right now. There's always an agent. The federal government should. And when there's an agent, everything's really different. One cannot be happy in the absence of happy thoughts means that it would need to be true of like all ones, like all people. No individual could ever be happy in the absence of happy thoughts. But we're not really interested in what makes like an individual happy. Like I've spent my life trying to make individuals happy. It's not something that I think is very possible. So one cannot be happy in the absence of happy thoughts, and this creation of agency. I think in this case, we do get rid of the word having. One cannot be happy without happy thoughts. One cannot be happy without a happy thought. Even this becomes really tricky. So one cannot be happy without a happy thought. One cannot be happy without a happy thought. Now, it's easy and fair to omit the word having here. Like, we don't want to be pedantic, but if we're going to work resolutions, the first thing, always, can we simplify? Can we shorten it? Can we get closer to like a simple idea that's very singular? Happiness is having happy thoughts versus one cannot be happy without happy thoughts. Now, how are these different? And how the fuck did we get here? Like, what are we actually trying to do right now? And why is this process of thinking important? Well, we'll say that after we make a couple more chess moves. So no pieces have been exchanged. Let's go back into the game. This is a modern defense. All right, and just like when we think about a resolution, we want to go back, see how we got here, right? So we go e4, he plays g6, d4, bishop to g7. I bring the knight out. These are all really normal. d6, the last game I played, literally the game I played right before I recorded this, the player did this thing where he played e6 and then queen, and then somehow took this pawn, and it was a disaster for a little while. This bishop move prevents, like this bishop move does a few things so that when this bishop comes to the square, I can replace it, but now I need to protect this pawn. I don't want to develop the queen onto the square. Bishop, pawn, just more development. And then the kind of lazy e6, but I think he's going to play, so he's going to be attacking on this side, so I want to start my attack on this side of the board. And hopefully I get there first. But there's lots of pieces over here. I don't see which of these pawn pushes does a lot of damage. I don't mind this move, trades, and then the bishop, but let's see how he reacts after I attack on the other flank. Although it tends to be that we want to attack in the center. I feel like taking here because now I can put a rook on this file. And I can literally just blow this up. Right? No. Because his bishop protects... No, I'm going to try it just because it's kind of fun. We're going to go rook, and then we're just going to go. And we're just going to go. The queen's protecting shit over here. The queen's really powerful right now, and as long as I can keep these pawns from making it... Yeah, I'm not worried about this move. Right? Let's lock it down. Let's just lock it all up. If he comes here, this is easy takes. He can't. It's only protected once. He can't develop the knight. Where's the knight even going to go? Let's go. Let's just break things down. And let's get in there. This looks good to me, I guess. Wide open on the side. We take... As long as this pawn is here and this one is protected. In fact, maybe we... No, I want to protect this pawn again. So I'm going to build this pawn. No, I don't want to do that. That feels a little desperate. That feels a little desperate. Takes, but I can't let him take it. I can't let a knight live here. Or this is hard. I'm okay with this. I mean, this totally opens things up, though. It's attacked 1, 2, 3 times. It's only protected once. I think I have to take. That's fine. Okay. Now we have a real target. Oh, it would be attacked twice. You can just move it down. Like now if he plays this move, I don't know. All right, now it's really hard. So we're gonna take off until, like I'm gonna try to get through most of how we get to our resolution now. But this is a very, very difficult position, just generally speaking. All right. So how did we get here? And what's at stake? Like, what's at stake? What's at stake in understanding happiness? But we wanted to start off with how are the two resolutions or the two ideas that we were working, how are they very different at all? So let's go back to the original. Happiness is having happy thoughts. And I'm just going to read this. Let's remember, happiness is having happy thoughts requires that happiness can't be anything else. It implies that a happy thought causes happiness, and causal chains are very, very chewy. This directionality is because it is. This is a directional idea. Happy thoughts cause happiness, and thus happiness is having happy thoughts. This isn't a happiness is having happy thoughts. We could invert it, but we still want to keep this core happiness is having happy thoughts. It's okay that the is isn't an equal sign here. If happiness causes happy thoughts, then something other than happy thoughts causing happiness would negate the resolution. So only a thinking process can lead to happiness makes this very, very chewy. There's something to really talk about, and the duality of happiness being a feeling that you experience and happiness is having happy thoughts now gets, I think, it now becomes more concrete in how we play with it as we move through it. You'll see that as we work on it a little bit more. Happiness is having money. could, with a little bit of work, transpose into having money causes happiness, since having money causes happy thoughts causes happiness. And there's no doubt that money would ultimately be a part of any long-term conversation about happiness, especially in the way that I've experimented with happiness thinking before. Happiness is achieving goals. Could become achieving goals causes happiness. And there is no doubt that this is this postmodern way that almost everyone lives without even thinking about it, because we were trained to do so since we were like tiny, and people think that achieving goals is like something that they came up with. That's going to be a part of what we talk about too. In fact, I think that'll be the meatiest part of what we talk about. Does achieving goals cause happiness? Is that what the cause of happiness actually is? That'd be pretty difficult to figure out. Whatever it is that causes happiness will be subsumed into the resolution. This is technical. It just feels like the words work with at least those two concepts. So now we're getting somewhere. And where we are getting is stakes, not the kind that you eat or the kind that you plant railroad tracks with, but why this is meaningful to your life. Now, some people who might end up or are listening to this, happiness is their North Star. Happiness is the compass of their life. They live for happiness. If something isn't making them happy, why would they even do it? For those people, nothing could be more important. One cannot be happy without happy thoughts. Again, is something that ends up being very human in nature. And I think since we've successfully limited our scope to ideas about happiness and not about individuals, we can take a deep breath and really think about if we want to resolve this for good. If something like money or goal achievement leads to happiness, we'll accept within reason that this gets subsumed into the thought experiment. So anything that causes anyone's happiness gets subsumed into the resolution. The cause of happy thoughts become the things that happiness are. The thing that happiness is, I think, would be better, because I don't think happiness is a word, so we wouldn't collect them all with the word are. So I think let's do it. Right? There's no turning back after this point in your mind. I think that's the most difficult thing, is there's a choice that gets made. You understand that it's limited. You understand that working any type of thought is going to be fraught with peril. Like it probably won't work. Holy shit. This is streaming, not recording. Ooh, all right. Well, if you're listening to this is just a test run, and I apologize that not a lot of chess is getting played, and that you're probably on a Rocket League Twitch page. So, my bad on that. I hope I can extract the recording, but I don't think I'll be able to. Anyway, I'd say let's do it, right? Resolved. Happiness is having happy thoughts. Resolved. Happiness is having happy thoughts. I'd get bored with definitions, so we're going to dive like right into uniqueness, and the thing gets difficult really quickly. Like as soon as you say it, like as soon as we say we're going to work on a problem, like it just feels serious really quickly. Let me just test this move, because I'm going to need some time when we get to 5 minutes. Knight, pawn takes, knight takes, so I don't think this works. I'm more tempted by knight takes. Now, if we go here, pawn takes. I think I have to. Hanging. Not hanging. Not hanging. The biggest thing is that now happiness is a state of being. And having the happy thought is not just a precursor to happiness, but it is the sprouting seed. The sprouting seed argument is going to be the single best bet that I have right now in terms of... Wow, somebody just opened my door, I think. But I'm not going to check. I'm going to finish this. Ooh. Me no likey. Me no likey. We can first I don't want to weaken like that, and I'm not... If I move... I think I'm just going to move the king. Because what I really want to play is this move. That works. Oh, I should have played it on the last. That would have been brilliant. But the bishop is then hanging. Oh, if I take the knight out, though. All right, 25. He's taken no time. None whatsoever. No wonder I can't get through this. 5 minutes. Why is he playing this? Why is he playing a 30-minute game? He took 5 minutes. What is this? What are these moves? Right? But I don't need to defend this because the queen is protecting it. So maybe I go attack this rook. That doesn't work because rook is then, now I have 2 attacks here. So let's go, I don't know. In the middle, I want to protect this square. This is annoying. He's moving so quickly, I can't really deal with it. And I definitely want to get through this before my 7 minutes and 56 seconds are up. So the sprouting seed idea is a really nice one. And one that I did get to spend a few days thinking, like, if I'm going to hang my hat on this resolution, it would be this. A tree needs water and soil and sun and CO2 and somewhere to grow. But those things are not the tree. At this moment, the sprouting seed is the tree, because those 4 components are in place and it has hatched out of the seed. In the realm of thoughts, the sprouting seed idea, more technically maybe, once began the thing is. So once began the thing is won't necessarily be true of all other thoughts X. This solves any like Maslowian problems. Like we assume that the preconditions to happiness have already been met. But is that true? Because if not, this becomes tautological, meaning it's true because it's true. There's nothing causal to work on in any way. And the nature of happiness as a sprouting seed must not be true of all other things. And that would create a really chewy precondition. But let's leave it for now. We will want to use anger a little bit later. I don't think anger is the sprouting seed. And it does. It gets really tricky really fast. Does anger have that same quality? Like once the preconditions for anger are in place, is that anger? And I don't think that's true of anger. But I do, can I prove that it's not true of anger? Well, this isn't science. There's nothing to prove. I don't have to prove. I don't have to prove it. That isn't really the word that we use for thought experiments. We just want to resolve the problem. Further, there is an epistemical truism worth mentioning. One cannot be rationally aware of a feeling, and this might solve the happiness is a feeling, not happiness is a thought. Thoughts are rationality. They are not feelings. Thus, if happiness is both a feeling and a thought, we cannot know the feeling until we think about it. If we only feel happiness, that is not happiness because we cannot know it. After a couple more moves and getting to an endgame, I want to talk about my first thought experiment that I thought was a Don Draper quote that isn't a Don Draper quote. So you can get a little background on where my thinking about this began and how we can re-warrant what we think about things like happiness. I don't want to lose this rook. I probably want this rook to be here. I could even see it coming here. He can't attack it directly. So yes, let's. So now this won't work because takes. Oh, this is very, very, let's go. We're going to just go. We're going to just go, but this is complicated. Ah, this move is troubling me. Well, knight. Then he can play, no, he can't because I'll be attacking the queen. And if I can't even do this. But now the knight is pinned. Now the knight gets pinned. That was the only move. Oh, this is defended by the bishop. Thank God. I was only seeing the defense of the queen here. Okay. X thoughts lead to X feeling. X thoughts lead to X feeling. If that's true of all feelings, then this resolution doesn't matter. And it feels like that would, it's almost like, wouldn't that always be true? Ugh. That's not good. Oh, it's protected twice. So if I can get the bishop out of the way. This is very difficult, you guys. But now I can put the rook back. And now the queen is threatened. So I could get literally a free move like so. This knight needs to get to this square, I think. I really need to push this pawn. This is... I only have 5 minutes for this? No way. This sucks. This is impossible. For me, that's a lot of chess. A lot of chess. This is very complicated. I'm noticing that I do have bishop because it's protected by the knight. Dude, this bishop is putting in work. This piece is just dude, and I have the light squares here. Maybe. Doesn't work though. Oh, it doesn't work. This square is protected twice. This square is protected twice. This is controlling the center. These two squares. I've got this square protected. Let's try this. I'm gonna take this knight, no matter what. I don't think that move is good either because now this pawn is unprotected and he's gonna have to take back with the queen. Dude, I might do that. No, he can't do it right now. Where can the knight go? Nowhere I see. Maybe? I want to protect dark squares, so maybe here is a better place, because he's defending all of these squares. Coming. And if it does, we're just gonna go right here to this beautiful square again. This beautiful square. I'm sorry, I want to talk about the nature of happiness as a sprouting seed is not true of all states of being. The nature of happiness as a sprouting seed is not true of all states of being. If we can show that happiness is a sprouting seed, and this, again, it doesn't mean scientifically, it means consistent with all of the other ways that we think about happiness, then we've really got something. We'll really, really have something. The nature of happiness as a sprouting seed is not true of all states of being. Anger. Is anger a sprouting seed? Bro, king to c1 looks really nice here for me. Now he's taking his goddamn time. Oh, it doesn't work now. Nope. Boy, this is tough. Is that why they do it? So they can get to this place where the game's just impossible and they have all this time? Bro, I think I'd go for it. And I can get out. My king can get out. I still think this is the right move. Because if rook moves here, this little contraption works. I do need Luft for my king. Those are beasts, those pieces. Okay, we do have something here. I think this works now. Okay. Yo, this is so difficult. Like, this is the most difficult chess match that I've played in a while. Like, there are a lot of pieces on the board. There are a lot of pieces on the board. I have no time. And I will go attack the rook now. Trading queens? No. Not with this knight. Not with this savage piece. Rook. Yeah. I can win with this knight and the position of my king. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. Got it. Woo! Let's go. Let's go. Oh, I almost moved. Bro, that was tough. It's over. Yeah. This doesn't work either because the rook is pinned, but I do need to put the bishop back. He can trade now. Trade to his heart's delight. I'm up a whole rook. Not a half of a rook, a whole rook. And I still have these dark squares. That bishop is useless and has been useless the entire game. Right? Never. I think that's knight never. Just keep your eye on the knight. As long as the knight is sitting on f6, the bishop is doing nothing. Watch. We're going to do the whole game. The world just moves around the knight. Anyway. Now this is a problem because, I mean, I suppose he has this, but he won't because I have pawn. Because I have pawn. Hold on, please. Hi. Oh, that was you? Oh, I heard you. I heard you come in, but I was recording something. I was working on something. Um, my apologies. All right. Dope. Thank you. Thank you. I think so, but that's less important. Yes. Yep. Okay. I think you can, like, if you get Isaac right at 3. But he does. Do you? He said his phone is on the couch. Do you have it? Do you have it? Okay. If you see it on the couch, I don't know why I brought that up, but because he won't know that you're picking him up, right? Or does he know? Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. He has jazz band, the drummer. All right. All right. Bye. Bye, bud. Oh, baby mama. Lesson. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. My relationship with my ex-wife is fantastic. I mean, next level, super fantastic stuff. It's the thing I'm like as proud of it as anything, as any and everything else. So yeah. And anyway, I don't even know if this is going to take. I really hope that it does, though. But if it doesn't, this has been a lot of fun. And I could definitely do this day in, day out and just have fun with it. That's nice. Trading the rooks here is basic chess math, right? We have 2 rooks, a knight, a bishop, and 5 pawns. He has 5 pawns. The only thing that his pawns are better with is that they're all connected. These 2 pawns are long-term targets, worth 1. 1. If you see this little +5 sign, it means that I'm up 5 points of material. And that is, no matter what's there, well, there are some situations like where you have a piece that can't move and is going to get taken, so it's temporary. But this is not that. This is a permanent rook up in a 1400 chess match. This game is literally like being up 2-0 in soccer with 2 minutes left or something like that. All right? We're going to take. Going to take again. This now we're up 6. There's nothing to do. He was like, I'd like to have dark squared dominance. Over what? Like literally, like over what? Oh, but he's gonna make me play this game. Now, the way that we win this game, these pawns can never move. The king might come and try to take this pawn. He'll have ways in, but if the knight's here, then he won't have any ways in. I think this is the most forcing, to just stop the king from entering the game at all. At all. At all. And note, this piece and this piece are now hanging. If he moves the pawn to a5, then the knight takes the pawn on b5. There's no way to protect this pawn, so +5 is going to will become +6. In this position, when it's like, well, if we're in this spot, we have all these pieces before a really bad move. That's a good move because it protects the rook from this. So he doesn't have to move if he moves the knight, he doesn't want to trade rooks. But I'll take the knight, which means he has to take the bishop. And now this pawn is hanging. But from here, if you imagine if we have this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece, well, let's get rid of that arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we trade everything. So we trade these, and we trade these, and we trade these. All that's left is this guy. The rook flies across the board. The rook is a madman, a cannon. And I don't mean in D. There's a way to deal with this. I'm going to start, and the way we win this game is by queening a pawn. Note that this bishop can literally do nothing. There are no pieces to attack. This is on a white square, this is on a light 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 square. And I am about to make this maneuver to take this pawn. If he takes with the bishop, then we have the situation that, I mean, like, he should resign. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. There's nothing. I remind myself that most of who's playing, though, are probably kids. Oh, so now it's like, oh, he doubled my... Now I don't care about constraint. I can literally just go... All right. Now what he wants to do is try to get a stalemate, which isn't going to happen, right? Because he has 6 places to move. He can go here, 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 here. I'm just actually going to auto to queen. And then I'm actually going to auto to queen. This game... Sometimes. Actually, there is an easier way to do this. Go slipping through the cracks, but these two. All right. Happiness is having happy thoughts. The Don Draper conclusion as an end. I always, when I would talk about this idea, I always quoted Don Draper in The Pilot of Mad Men. And I always said what Don Draper said is, happiness is the moment before you know what you want next. And he didn't. Like, not at all. Or at least not in the episode that I watched. Happiness is the moment before you know what you want next. It's grammatically pretty tricky. The moment before you know what you want is tricky. But I thought about happiness in that way for a very long time. My first encounter with happiness deeply did come from Kant's idea that happiness is certainty. You are only happy if you have what you want now. So happiness is getting what you want. Let's just take that on face. It isn't just getting what you want. It's knowing that you will get what you want later. So it is securing the future like it is the present. Which is why people who are happy and have a lot of things that they want try to fix the world around them. And you can't do that. Nobody can determine the future. Like, nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone 10 years from now. So people who say things like, trust me, in a business sense, like, trust me, I know what's going to happen, aren't to be trusted. That's why trust is a really tricky word in literature. From there into the Don Draper idea, into the joy, fulfillment, happiness, the three-body problem of happiness, joy, and fulfillment, which is a thought experiment, but not one that's set up as a resolution, where I get really frustrated when people say that money doesn't make you happy. And that isn't true, because the feeling that you get when you buy something that you want is happiness. I tried to take it so far as to say that the reason that economics is important, the reason that money is so important and so universal, is that the feeling of buying something, acquiring property, is a unique sensation that we should all just call happiness, and then everything else is otherwise. That way we can have a real conversation about this feeling that we get from buying something that we want. But it didn't take. Like, trying to sell the idea of redefining the word happiness was impossible. Like, whether or not the thought experiment holds, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, it's almost tautological that if all feelings are unique and you buy something that you want, that feeling is different than everything else. Let's call it happiness. Doesn't work, because happiness just means so many different things. Maybe I should have just tried to rename it, call it Googling. That feeling that you get when you buy something that you want is unique, could be a neat thought experiment. But now what we do is we're going to let this idea sit for a day or two, and think about it. I'm also going to have a conversation with an 11-year-old about it. Talking to kids, I can't tell you enough how much talking to kids clarifies ideas. So I'm going to talk to one of my kids a little bit later. and see how he feels about happiness as having happy thoughts without trying to sell him on anything else. I'm just going to ask him some questions and let him question me and come back with a little bit more of a full screen conclusion. I hope the chess helped make this a little bit chewier, like just gave you something where you can move your head away. Even if you don't like chess, the ideas, I hope the way that I explained them were interesting at all. Let's see how we did. Come on, give me a good score. 88. 80. I'll take 84. I'll take this. That was a good game. This whole time, he was just getting better and better. Like this number here means like he's up half a pawn. Now that was I'm just weaving around. I don't think I just wanted to simplify. It isn't the best move, but at least I get a better handle on the position. And then I bet from here it's all best moves. Best, 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 best-ish, best, 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 best. Good. Good. Got to an end game that I could win and I won it. That's how I win chess games. All right. Till next time.